So yes, recently everyone's been staying at home, or lots of people have been staying at home, trying not to go nuts. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to talk about what I do to keep from going nuts. I already work from home, but the show that I am involved in, has been postponed until August, so that's a really long time. So that means there was no rehearsal, no performances in the evenings, and the movie theaters got closed, and I always like going to the movies, and so no going to the movies, and restaurants are just doing takeout, so no going out to eat. And a lot of my friends are out of town, but there's not a whole lot of visiting going on either. Yeah. But my brother just told me today that the average American right now is spending at least 8 hours a day watching the television. What? I couldn't even imagine. That wouldn't even enter my mind. To sit there and watch TV for 8 hours. I feel the brains oozing out of my ears. So, I don't know, I would just get bored with that. And I like a good TV show as much as anybody else, but not that much. So I decided to do some projects, and I wanted to show you what I have been doing. So first of all, what I thought would be fun was I visited Venice a long time ago. All around Italy, actually, and I loved the masks that they made that are just everywhere. And I've always thought, oh, that'd be kind of a fun thing to learn how to do. So I gave myself a shot at doing that, and this is the first one that I made. It's a little lopsided. But, I don't know, you can see the music on here. I have one of those styrofoam faces. And what you do is it's a styrofoam head, and you put tin foil all over the top of it and push it down. And then you get newspaper, or I used a whole bunch of coupons and tore them up, and you make a mix of flour and water, and you dip the strips of paper in the water, and then you kind of peel it off like that, the water, and then you lay it across, and you make several layers of that, and then you have to let it dry overnight, and then you can paint it. And I also use that kind of bumpy paint to make this texture. And then I took another, like a paper towel, and put it on some brown paint, and then dabbed it all over to give it that antique look. So that was my first one. And then I made this one, and this is the one I'm proud of. Of course, this is too big for me because it's made man-sized. It's for a man. But yes, you should recognize. And I did the other side too. It's all white and pretty. Phantom of the Opera, because I've had that on the brain lately. And this one, I wanted it to be a lot smoother, so I put that clear Elmer's glue, and I just went all over it, and then kind of spread it with a paintbrush that I didn't like, and then it just kind of made it really smooth and shiny. But yeah, this is paper mache, not plastic. And what else did I do? I read one of my favorite books ever, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is an old copy. I first heard this story in the 3rd grade. My teacher read it to us. After recess, you'd come in and calm down. The teacher would read to you. And I like this version because it has really neat illustrations in it. You can see they're like pencil illustrations. Some of the newer editions have really bad illustrations, and I don't like them. But this is from the 70s, I think. Oh no, earlier than that. 1964. This is when this came out. I love it. It's a happy, fun, imaginative story. There is a sequel called Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. It is weird. Have you ever read it? It is weird, and I don't like it. Honestly, it's kind of childish, but not in a good way. None of the characters feel real anymore. These people feel real, and the Great Glass Elevator characters don't feel like that. I started to read it just recently, and I thought, moving on. All right. Oh, and then this is a magazine that I always ask for when it's my birthday or Christmas. It's Victoria magazine. This one is full of French things, which can never be bad. But there's all kinds of inspiration for decorating and for tea things and food. All these recipes for great food and lovely on the inside. Look. So I'm working my way slowly through that like you would eat a gourmet dinner at a fancy restaurant. I don't rush through these. And, oh, speaking of food, I bought these two things at an antique store a while ago, and I just now discovered them again. They are little books of recipes. This book is for chocolate. It is for Walter Baker and Company Limited, established 1780 in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I don't know how to say it. It was copyrighted in 1923, so this is old, but everything you could possibly think of to do with chocolate. Look at these things. I've never heard of some of these things. One of it was chocolate jelly. I guess that's chocolate jello. I want to try it. This morning, because we have some cocoa powder, I made their breakfast cocoa. You have to do it over the stove with boiling milk and boiling water, and then and mix it together just right. But it is really good. And then this was put out by Coleman's Mustard in 1925. That's as old as my grandpa. And this is just all well, it's new recipes and others selected from old English cookery books. And just anything that possibly has mustard in it. It has a hollandaise sauce recipe in here, which I really want to try. But all kinds of salad dressings, deviled eggs, meats, savory hams, sauces, sandwiches. So I'm going to be trying that. So when I do, I will let you know and I will show you, because that sounds fun. And, okay, so the last thing I've been doing, or one of the, many other things have I been doing, but I got this set of watercolor markers from my friend who said she didn't like them and didn't want to mess with them anymore. But what you do is you draw out what you want to paint, so you sketch it out, and then you put the color where you want it to be, and then you get your paintbrush and you get it wet, and then you blend the paint in that way. And I have been doing a lot of illustrating for my book, which is called Ghost, Retelling the Phantom of the Opera. So I thought I would let you see a few of those illustrations. The main thing that I got done during this whole thing, starting right after Valentine's Day and the ending probably March 20th, I wrote a book in that space of time. It was 30 chapters, and they were not short chapters. This is not James Patterson where he does 2 pages and that's a chapter. And it was good, I think, that I didn't have anything to distract me at all, and I just totally got in the zone 24/7, thinking about this story, totally obsessed, and it just spilled out of me. But of course, I have always loved the story of the Phantom of the Opera. Ever since my dad brought the cast recording for the Andrew Lloyd Webber version home from New York City, and I heard it, and then I read the book by Gaston Leroux, which is terribly sad, and it's worse than the musical sad. And then Dad went, he took me to see the show on Broadway when I turned 15 years old. So I've loved it this whole time. And recently I discovered the 25th anniversary performance at Royal Albert Hall, and it just sparked my imagination. And of course the Gaston Leroux version is in the public domain, so people can rewrite the concept of the Phantom of the Opera, and I am hopefully doing something possibly different, completely, totally different than anything that you have read before, and yet it should feel very familiar, very rich in history and atmosphere, and I love writing it. And my patrons are reading it right now on Patreon, and they're loving it too. Some of them are really diehard Phantom fans. Fans. P-H-A-N-S. And they know, they enjoy it as it is, and so they would not be happy if I was screwing it up. So you can count on them. I'm not screwing it up, and they're loving it. And so, if you don't want to become a patron, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to, because that's the fun part, but you can pre-order it on Kindle, on Amazon, but it's coming out in October. You have to wait a long time. Or you could read it, now on Patreon. So those are the things that I have been doing. I'm going to be probably cooking and burning a lot of things, doing more art, and now that the weather is getting nicer, I'm going to go outside and start gardening, plus this whole thing is going to be blown over very soon. The end of this month. So I'm ready to see people again and go to the movies and go out to eat. Again, so ready. Even though I am a homebody, I'm ready. I miss people's, real human faces. I've been writing lots of letters to people. I miss you. Yes, I write letters. That's another thing I've been doing. Writing letters and getting letters. It makes me feel happy. So, if you would like to get in on the Phantom of the Opera fun on Patreon, the link is down below, and I'll put the pre-order link down there too, and the link to my website, because I post all kinds of fun stuff there too. So, see you next time.